From Birmingham jail, Dr. Martin Luther King, that legendary civil rights activist, explains that not all laws are created equal. Laws are made by humans, and humans, unfortunately, have a long history of discriminating against each other. King says that we have a moral responsibility to obey just laws and a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. Why am I bringing this up? It's time for Tuesday commentary, and Alhaji Barrow's essay today is titled
The Duty to Disobey. They are Gambians. They are all Christians and Muslims. They all worked at the Gambia Police Force headquarters. They all swore to uphold the law, to defend the law, and to defend Gambians. Then one fine morning, they were all ordered to report to the police parade grounds. They were all told to swear allegiance to Yaya Jammeh before a shrine. They had a translator, a Gambian soldier in uniform by the name Sehu Jallo. Some of the police officers were identified by the strange men in red outfits adorned with mirrors and all manners of juju. Those identified were ordered by the police high command to go and get washed. They were considered witches and must be cleansed by the men of the occult. Let me remind you again that this happened in a country where many profess to be Muslims and Christians. The year was 2009. Police officers obediently formed a line, and one by one they sheepishly marched to go and swear allegiance to Yaya Jammeh, an act forbidden by both Islam and Christianity. Muslims and Christians to be cleansed by idol worshippers in a majority Muslim country. The silence around the abuse, especially from those who are the religious and political leaders, was deafening. One by one, the police officers obeyed the illegal orders. In the Gambia, all orders by authorities are to be obeyed, no matter how wrong or egregious these orders are. That's the abiding tragedy. Initially, only 2 police officers refused to disobey their creator. Eventually, only 1 man remained standing, refusing to obey the illegal orders. His name is Mustafa CeCe. He just published a book he titled The Duty to Disobey. Swearing before a shrine in a country of people who profess to be 95% Muslims and Christians, and the silence among the religious leaders, again, was deafening. The silence among Gambians was very telling. Only 1 man's conscience was pricked enough to go out and demand answers. His name is Halifa Saleh. Most Gambians simply pretended that the madness of Yaya Jammeh and his APRC government was normal. His ambassadors and other minions continue to tell us that Gambia is a peaceful country and that all was well. Today, those same APRC supporters and abusers are the ones claiming moral currency. They are the ones who remain unrepentant and are rewarded by our politicians in the opposition and the NPP. And so they ignore the wanton abuse against mostly elders. Fathers and mothers would suffer. Government officials, civil servants, soldiers, police officers and firefighters. Many joined the line to swear allegiance before a shrine and to an ordinary human being. Except the grandson of Karamo CeCe and grandson of Bake Morin Barrow, Mustafa CeCe. Because Mustafa CeCe refused to disobey Allah, his life will never be the same again. I met him when he submitted his statement to the TRRC. His story, like those old men and women who were abused by the APRC government, filled me with shame. It filled me with sadness. It filled me with anger. Mustafa's story, though shameful, gave me some hope. Hope that even where everyone simply buckles under the chokehold of a tyrant, there will always be one person who will resist. That amidst the pervasive inertia that Gambians found comfort in, there were few willing to stand up for their rights and the rights of others. Through his TRRC journey, I would become friends with Mustafa CeCe. We would become brothers. Here is a man I admire and respect, a man who would rather die than subject himself to idolatry. His book, The Duty to Disobey, is a rendition of what happened on that fateful day when Yahya Jammeh's soldiers and team of occultists came to police headquarters to abuse Gambian police officers. Mustafa and his family will suffer in the hands of the Gambia police force leadership, but in the end, good always triumphs over evil. The self-emasculated police hierarchy would obey illegal orders and do their best to emasculate Mustafa CeCe. The Gambian would do and say anything to maintain a job or a government position. But in the end, the emasculated Gambia police force leadership miserably failed. They may be weak, but Mustafa is not weak. He still stands strong, looming large over all those who try to make him suffer, and armed with nothing but the values imbued in him and his faith in Allah. I take this opportunity to apologize to Mustafa. I apologize because the APRC evil machinery that abused him and his family did so in my name as a Gambian. I pray for many more Mustafas in the Gambia. Men and women who will not simply obey any order. Men and women who have true faith in their Creator. I urge you to read his book, The Duty to Disobey.
Alaji Baro.
Today we'll be looking at literature. I interviewed a Gambian writer, Mustafa CeCe. But then, to know the details, let's just watch this video and come back. Today on our art segment, we'll be looking at literature. A Gambian, Mustafa CeCe, wrote a book titled The Duty to Disobey, My Encounter with Yahya Jammeh's Witch Doctors. Title of the book, Mr. CeCe.
Indeed, it's quite interesting. It is the listing of my encounter with Yahya Jammeh's Witch Doctors. I used to be a police officer in the Gambia here. I served to the rank of a sergeant. I used to work at the police headquarters, and one day in January 2009, we were just there. The Inspector General gave instructions that Yahya Jammeh was sending people to come and screen us, to screen police officers for loyalty to him and identify those who were witches and wizards. So I was there, and then they started going around and then identifying few people, just random selection. So I was one of those to be screened to prove that I was not a witch. So I refused to do what they asked me to do. I disobeyed those orders. So I was demoted to the lowest rank in the police and banished from the police headquarters to Fatoto, PIU. And after some time, I resigned from the police. So that is the content of this book.
That is why the title, The Duty to Disobey.
Indeed, that's exactly the reason behind the title. If you look at the book, the cover, you will see police officers queuing to go and swear at that idol shrine.
We hear of people in the communities talking about this. You mean this also happened even within the service?
Indeed, not only in the security forces, but even in government offices. They did all kind of things. They will just go and randomly select 20, 30 people. Even somewhere like Jambur, they abducted 60 people from there. I accuse them of being witches, and then they maltreat them, they put them under inhuman conditions.
So these are the stories you've recounted in this book?
My own experience from the moment that happened and going further into what was happening in the community that included all the places that they have been to. Because TRRC covered this event, but it was not detailed.
It was just in glimpse.
It was just in glimpse. Myself, I was on the TRRC. But the information that you can give within a framework of a legal process. For example, last TRRC, it was limited. So this book gives an insight look into everything that happened, from the reasons behind it, from the behind-the-scene events, and things that were done to make it a stop.
Here it says high school and beyond, and the page that I am on, which is page 32. It says, in 1988, I passed the Gambia, the common entrance examination, and got admitted to Gambia Muslim Senior Secondary School in Banjul, my village. I think this is talking about you.
Yes.
This is talking about you. But then, do we have other chapters that actually that will be quite interesting when it comes to recounting such stories? I think your own background has a link with this story as well.
Exactly. The book, if you look at it, The Duty to Disobey, my encounter with James with doctors, that encounter starts at chapter 2, because you want to look at who this person is before you...
I think I will see chapter 2 here, which says which doctors at the police headquarters.
Exactly. Chapter 2, that's what it starts. But chapter 1 goes to the power of identity. Chapter 1 is titled The Power of Identity. That defines who you are. You have been raised within a value system. You have been raised within a religious and moral, culturally defined setting. So that upbringing is what identifies you, is what guides everything that you do in life. I have a cultural upbringing. I have values that must be safeguarded at all costs. After the witch doctors came, they identified about 30 to 40 people among the security officers who were supposed to go and be washed and drink their hallucinogenic concoction to prove that they are not witches. Everybody complied. Whether they will just go to the location and pretend that they have done it and come back. But I, unfortunately or fortunately, said no. So that was when I was charged, brought through the police disciplinary process to the Inspector General. I was demoted and then banished to Fatoto. That's where chapter 5 is.
Looks like it's going to be an interesting read. But is this book launched already?
The book is going to be launched on Saturday, March 8th at Regional Education Office in Brikama. This is my first book, but I've been writing a lot. I've not published anything yet. This is
What is your first publication?
This is my first publication, yes.
Will this be the starting point for more books to come?
Indeed, I have written about 2-3 other manuscripts that I'm looking forward to publish. This is just the beginning. I might end up becoming a writer.
Interesting, Mr. CeCe, thank you very much. But then, for those that are interested in getting a copy, reading a book, what do you have to tell them?
The book is going to, already is available on Amazon for everybody outside the Gambia, or even in the Gambia. If you have an Amazon account, you can be able to order the book online. And here in the Gambia, is going to be available at Timbuktu. And on the launch day, it's going to be available on sale.
Thank you very much.
You are most welcome.
Okay, and that's it for the art segment on Good Morning Gambia.
An interesting one.
Yes, an interesting one.
The title is so captivating.
Yes, the title itself,
The
Duty to
Duty to
Disobey, my encounter with Yaya Jammeh's with doctors. And I think we've had this at the TRRC, as I said, but then this book will give people more insight as to what actually happened for the people that went through such quite horrendous. It's just unfortunate. This also is part of the Gambia's history, and documenting it in a book obviously will help people to know about what transpired in the past. I think during the former regime as well, a lot of issues happened, and I think the TRRC set light on some of those issues, but yet still
it was limited.
There are more stories to be told, and those that that had the experience are now telling their stories. An example is Mr. Mustafa CeCe, who lost his job due to the process, and the fact that he stood firm in his beliefs to say that I am not going to do this.
And that was not a norm in the army or in the security.
Service, yes, it is not a norm. It is not even a norm in our communities.
Yeah.
Even though we used to hear of stories as such, some families may be practicing such also, but then it is just not a norm in our community.
No
and seeing it happening also in the service it was quite disturbing. We hope that we've learned from this and such will not repeat itself again.
I don't think such will repeat itself, because it is even abnormal in a society to point at someone, to discriminate someone because he is or she is associated to something like witchcraft. But then, like you said, that was a dark history for the country, and we hope that it will not repeat itself.
It is. Sometimes people say in Africa people practice witchcraft, but then if you talk to scholars, they're telling you that there's nothing like
religious people.
Yes, there's nothing like such. But then it is people's belief, and some actually believe it. But then we just hope that it is a learning process. But the likes of Mr. Mustafa CeCe had to tell his story, having experienced this that changed his life. Because imagine working, training for something, serving all your life for a particular thing, and then something just came up that destroyed everything for you. And I think with the book, which I look forward to reading anyway, because I think it will be very interesting. Yeah, because it will set more light, and it's a learning point for us, the young ones.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't have the opportunity of experiencing such. We've only heard of stories of it. And then if we read the book, we will get to understand what actually transpired during the period.
And these are the kind of books that people want to read, the live realities. This is something that he has experienced and he is sharing with Gambians.
It is not fiction,
yeah.
It is a reality.
Yeah. This story was in the media when it was happening. Like Halifa Saleh was talking about it consistently on the media at the time, but most people did not believe in it until when the TRRC
because it is not a norm. It is not a norm. and it was strange, you know, people wouldn't believe it because they were like, they're just cooking up stories. But then, as I said earlier, the TRRC set light on it, and people get to know more about what was happening. Mbokk yi di leen fàttali rek de seen Good Morning Gambia programme lañ doon seetaan léegi rek ñu doon waxtaan ak ki nga xam ne moo di Mr. Mustafa CeCe moom mi nga xam ne dafa bind ab téere doon fàttaliku rek li nga xam ne moo fi xewoon ci nguur gu weesu. Mu di woon fesal rek ne mooy ay expérience am yi nga xam ne amoon na ko xaw ma sax naka la ñuy waxee witch doctor tumo yi ñu daan wax naan ñi ay doomal lañ comme ni ñu ko waxee dañ leen di joxoñ daal comme ni ñu koy faral di waxee si olof dafa nekk baat boo xam ne sali du ñu koy faral di wax nit sax si olof ñu bari duñ na wax bi mag ñi dañ lay wax ne dañ leen di joxoñ foofu la ñuy am parce que duñ ko bëgg a wax sax mu doon loo xam ne lu métti la buñ ko waree teg si sa kaw mu nekk ab tuuma boo xam ne da nga war a dem setal sa boppa mu doon loo xam ne lu métti la ki nga xam ne moo di Mustafa CeCe moom daf ko dundoon ci nguur yi ki nga xam ne moo di Yaya Jammeh ndaxte nag duñu fàttalikoo rek ci wàllu xibaar yi dañu fi daan topp yu ñu mel ñu ñuy wax ne rek yooyu amoon na ci ay yenn dëkkuwaay yoo xam ne am na ñu nga xam ne dañ leen jàppoon wax ne dañoo war a dem setal seen der ne ñoom mbokkuñ ci yu ñu mel wala bokk duñ leen i joxoñ mu doon loo xam ne lu am solo la moom nag ren mu bind ko ci ab téere di fesal rek li nga xam ne moom la jotoon a dunda ci waxtu woowu ndaxte nag lii dafa wécci woon li nga xam ne moo di dundam sali mu doonoon koo xam ne police officer la fii ci réew mi ba tax na mu ñàkk si amoon si ab ndomba tànk ñu daal di ko wàccee ci ndomba tànk boobu wàcce ko si suufa suuf ñu dem ba ci kanam mu ñàkk ci liggéeyam ba tax na sax mu génnoon réew mi daal di ñëwaat nag bindaat téere di fesal rek li nga xam ne moom la jànkuwanteel ci jamono yooyu téere bi nag def nañ dinañ ko ngénte ci samedi gi foog na ci la ñuy ngénte téere boobu mu doon téere bu am solo di wax nit ñi rek képp ku nga xam ne am nga itteew ci jàng wala boog jàng li nga xam ne moo di téere yi ñuy bind fii ci réew mi mën nga see dem jël rek daal di nafaraat xool seetal sa bopp jàngee ci li nga xam ne moom la loolu kii di Mustafa CeCe dundoon sali
téere bu ma bëgg a riid la yaakaar naa ne dinañ ko jot pour gis ne ñoom it ñu nit ñu mën a ci jàngee lu bari ndax nekk na loo xam ne dawoon na fi yaram ñuy gis Gambien di teg métit bu mel noonu si kaw Gambien mbaɗigol mbaɗen jiɓer laal komin rohiya faali ñamen drong ay kacamin naati nan non ani miya soto wala Mustafa CeCe ti ñimmu Gambia dingole ti miya lon ko aɓe non tanko bundale dow ko wala banko kan jang ya jammela mararo watola wataɓe molla kono min ya lon ko yiila ñanto tiña tuma laminna e konon iɓe buwa jafrundol la banko kan jang ka molu kili ka boro dila kati fan seneyande ko imanke buwalti ako ate fana ɓe molla kono min ya lon ko ye minu tombon ko iñanta e fan seneyande lale bare ate ɗum aye banne pour ka silolu noma min ya lon ko won molu yajammi minu tombon e ka yake wala yatinna ayala kibaro ñin tola de duty to disobey walem ate ñodulale soto pour kaje ko kay balan wo ku jawala mi ya lon ko ilafta wala kala banko kan jang bitum womo kuleti mi ya lon ko do mandin fotale non kibar kaytol to wato min nabe ke kan bare TRRC nata mo jama kacata min ya lon ko ya yitandi ko e tol fana keta molti min ya lon ko ila nyanto ti nyaawo fannala professor CeCe ko ateman wato soto mba Mr CeCe ko ateman wato soto non kala ko be sata TRRC bara ya mira ko kuja male keta ni nata o buwa jafurundo la mi ya lon ko gambianolu nyanta lonnale katu waman kenna adoti hani sate wolto fan nimmolu ko karimu buwaleti ala nyanto ka tinyale asidula se kandiyama asatin na fan ay doya society kono surtout ma ke bondi television auto ke samba dinkiral to ka borolu dila ata yamira wo mukuleti mi ya lon ko manyan surtout ma kabo mola mi ya lon ko wolen banko nyaton koti wala tinay nyin kitabo safe kitabo mi ya lon ko sayinga pareta nyin temben abina tolola kitabo datita dame wolem aya fanne fo gambianoli jumale Mustafa CeCe ti abota muntola karanta muntola fo jandin abe dunna atanko bunda do kola dame yalon ko kabirin aye bang pour que la sartolu noma inata la makamo jindi e mandam fankala makamo jindi inata bay ala do ku dinkirato dame yalon ko sanji jama abe non wodo ko wala kabirin dula kandita madron anata funti banko e bantala sai mi yalon ko demokrasi muruntanan anata muron pour ka saferoke akodi atela miro to alafta ku jamala safela mi yalon ko ayaji aketa banko kanjang bar nyina la buku foloti mi yalon ko ay wala safi abina tolo la barani hamo soto ka kitabu jamal safi mi yalon ko iseki gambia la tare ko ti rohim
abaraka baake Sally li nga wax leer na comme ni nga ko waxee rek noonu la fa demee di ko jaajëfal ci téere boobu nga xam ne bind na ko di séntu rek ñu daal di ko jàng ñu ne tamit xañ na jàngee ci lu bari kon nag we just take a quick break